Morrison Academy Child Safety Training, Course C. Why do we do annual child safety training? For the past 3 years, child safety is commonly the #1 top concern expressed on parent surveys at international schools. The Morrison community has been relatively safe, but many international schools have been affected by child abuse. Last school year, Morrison responded to a number of reports, none of which involved an employee or volunteer as the perpetrator. In fact, as far back as our records go, there are no documented cases of abuse of students by a Morrison employee. So why do we do annual child safety training? The reason is that child safety training like this helps make our community a hard target for sexual predators. As a Christian school, we are especially vulnerable to sexual predators. Statistics have shown that students are much more likely to be abused by someone they know than by a stranger. And since Christian educators are committed to mentoring relationships, predators can use this to hide their grooming process of gaining the trust of a child and making a child feel special, which sets up opportunities for abuse away from the school. Some of our students are compliant, shy, or isolated students, and these students have a strong need for affection, attention, and approval, and are therefore more vulnerable to predators. Often students are reluctant to disclose abuse, and there are multiple reasons as to why. A few of them being that the student is too young to understand, doesn't know who to tell, is afraid they won't be believed, is afraid they'll be blamed or punished, may be manipulated, bribed, or threatened by the perpetrator, is ashamed and guilty, doesn't want to risk rejection from peers, and doesn't want to risk their parents' reputation or work. However, there are also many students who do make a disclosure, and when a student does so, our job is to listen and report to an administrator, not investigate. Morrison has 8 CSPN trained investigators to help your administrator respond to the report. When a student reports, an adult can and should listen sympathetically. Assure them that it's not their fault. And assure them they did the right thing to tell you. When a student reports, an adult should not ask leading questions such as, "Did your father hit you?" Attempt to evaluate the credibility of the report by saying things like, "How do I know you're telling the truth?" and investigate with questions such as, "Has this happened before? How many times did he hit you? And did anyone else see you being hit?" There are many types of disclosure, and our job as adults is to recognize them and properly respond to them. A few types of disclosure are indirect, disguised, strings attached, and direct. Each type of disclosure is unique, but just as important as any other type, and should be approached and handled with utmost respect and care. First, indirect disclosure. There are many varieties of indirect disclosures. You may overhear comments, someone may tell you that they are concerned about a particular child's behavior, or a friend of a friend will provide third-party information. For example, a child may say something along the lines of, "What should I do if my friend seems really upset and cries a lot but won't tell me why?" I heard kids talking at school about a secret they're keeping. "My friend says she doesn't want to come back to school because she has stomach aches every day." Another form of disclosure is disguised disclosure. Sometimes children offer subtle clues to see if you are a safe person who can handle more of their story. These kinds of reports often come in little bits and pieces as you gain their trust. Another common coping strategy is children will make excuses to miss or try to withdraw from activities that used to be enjoyable if the adult involved has acted inappropriately. Some examples of this include a child saying something along the lines of, "I don't want to go back to school, the babysitter's, or a friend's house. I don't like my teacher anymore," or "I've decided to quit sports." Another form of disclosure is strings attached disclosure. It's very common for children to agree to tell us their secret only if we promise not to tell anyone else because they are afraid of what will happen to them. We should never make this promise. Instead, we can say, "I will only tell those who can help you. I care about you too much to keep this secret because together we will need help." If a child insists on keeping the secret until you promise confidentiality, you can explain that you would rather wait patiently until they are ready to tell you than make a promise you cannot keep. If you accidentally make a promise to a child before you realize that it's a report of abuse, you will have to explain that you cannot keep your promise. You are legally, professionally, and morally obligated to report. Examples of this type of disclosure are, "I want to tell you something, but I don't want you to do anything about it," or "I will only tell you if you promise not to tell anyone." The final type of disclosure is direct disclosure. This type of disclosure is less frequent, but happens when there is trust between the victim and the person to whom they disclose, or the victim feels safe to share because enough time has passed, or the offender is no longer a threat. Sometimes disclosures are the result of a person not knowing that what happened to them would be defined as abuse. As you listen to their story, you can help them understand it, which will aid the healing process. Examples of this are, "I don't like it when that person touches me or makes me touch him." "Something bad happened to me that hurt me." "I was a victim a long time ago, but have never told anyone what happened to me." Hopefully your students will remain safe from child abuse, so you never need to file one of these reports. The best thing we can do to continue protecting our students and ourselves is to routinely implement Morrison's 3 primary safeguards for reducing risk, which are the following. 1. Visibility. When interacting with children, the adult positions themselves in a place that is visible to other unrelated adults. This can be accomplished by such things as planning activities in areas where other adults are present, staying within view of the window, or in keeping the doors open. 2. Accountability. Prior to any one-on-one interaction with a child, notify the child's parent or an unrelated employee in the vicinity. This can be accomplished by a counselor phoning a colleague in the building at the beginning and end of a counseling session, or a volunteer phoning a parent before driving a student home. 3. Balancing control. Adults, by virtue of their age, size, strength, and authority, exert control over children. Balancing control enhances child safety. This can be accomplished by sending 2 same-age children to the bathroom together with an adolescent or adult helper, having a friend play in the room while talking to a student after school, or inviting 2 or more students to work on a project. In a vehicle, adults can help balance control by dropping off siblings last or asking the children to sit in the back seat. To practice what you've learned, please select this link and respond to a 3-question quiz. Everyone will receive a 100% because you can take the quiz as many times as you'd like. The principal will receive notification that you have completed this year's child safety course. Thank you for viewing this video, and hopefully you have learned a little bit more about promoting child safety.
Created using Powtoon.